Reaching Wat Boromnivasa, I learned that the ecclesiastical authorities had met for consultation concerning the Somdet's cremation. That very day there had been a meeting of 11 senior monks to appoint a committee to run the cremation, after which they had gone to meet with the Ajahn Society in the Green Hall. About 100 members of the society were present at the meeting, which was chaired by Nailian Bwasuwan. When I reached the Green Hall, I could see Chowkun Dhammapitok and Chowkun Dhammatilok sitting in on the meeting, but they weren't saying anything at all. All I could hear was the voice of Dr. Phon Sang Sinkao. I stood and listened outside, but didn't like what I heard. They were making plans to collect money in the name of the Somdet to build a mental hospital for Dr. Phon in Ubon. So I entered the meeting, sat down, excused myself, and then said, "The matter you're discussing makes me really sad. I helped take care of the Somdet for 3 years, and now he's been dead for more than 100 days. And yet with all the Ajahns and members of the society sitting here, I haven't heard anyone make any mention of plans for the cremation. I understand you've budgeted 700,000 baht for the hospital, but I haven't heard anyone set a budget for the Somdet. This makes me really sad, which is why I've asked your permission to speak." As soon as I had finished, Dr. Phon said, "I went to see Field Marshal Finn to tell him that we didn't have enough money to build the hospital, and that I'd like to collect money in connection with the cremation in order to augment our funds. He agreed that it would be a good idea and contributed 10,000 baht of his own, which is why I brought up the matter." So I responded, "Finn, Schmin, I don't know anything about that. All I know is that we haven't met here to discuss a hospital, we've met to discuss a corpse." Hearing this, Dr. Phon got up and walked out of the meeting. Nailian sat still for a moment and then said, "In that case, what do the Ajahns have to say?" Chowkun Dhammatilok, Chowkun Nyanarakit, and the others all sat absolutely still. Nailian asked again, "What would the Ajahns have us do?" So I answered, "It's not that I'm against the hospital, but I feel that it should be brought up afterwards because the Somdet's body is still lying around smelling up the place, and so should be taken care of first." When I finished speaking, Kun Naitun raised her hand in agreement from the back of the room. In the end, we had the secretary record the following 3 points as the consensus of the meeting. 1. However the money is to be collected, have it go toward the cremation until the committee in charge feels that it has enough. 2. If there is any money left over, appoint a committee to consider handing the excess over to the hospital. 3. If the committee doesn't see fit, the money needn't go to the hospital. When these 3 points had been recorded, someone asked, "Who's going to run the cremation?" None of the monks responded, so I answered for them. "The monks of Wat Borom." Mahawichian, who worked with the culture ministry, spoke up. "You're monks. If you run the cremation, how will you handle the money?" I answered, "I have lots of hands. I'm just afraid there won't be any money for them to collect. I don't know how to handle money myself, but I have followers who do." That silenced Mahawichian. In the end, we decided to do away with the old committee and set up a new one headed by Chowkun Dhammapitok. The meeting was then adjourned. The next morning I passed by the quarters of Chowkun Dhammapitok and he called me into his room. "There are some things I'd like to tell you concerning the Somdet," he said. "I've kept them secret and haven't told anyone else at all." He then went on to say, right before he died, the Somdet, 1. told me to be in charge of his funeral after he died, 2. turned over all of his belongings to me, and 3. told me to help take charge of the monks and novices in Wat Borom. "That's good to hear," I told him. Afterwards, we held a meeting of the monks in Wat Borom, at which the Somdet's orders were made public. Chowkun Dhammapitok was then given responsibility for running both the funeral and the temple as a whole. Before leaving the meeting, I spoke up. "I'd like to beg your pardon, but I was so disgusted yesterday I couldn't stand it. When the Somdet was alive, no one ever spoke of his hospital. After he died, no one spoke of his cremation, but started speaking about the hospital instead. If what I said was improper or wrong or caused any hard feelings, then I'll take my leave of the temple and ask not to be involved in the funeral." Chowkun Dhammapitok then pleaded with me not to leave and told me, "There was nothing wrong with what you said." So I joined in and helped with the funeral until it was over. Not long afterwards, the cremation was held at Wat Phra Sri Mahadatu in the Bang Khen district of Bangkok. The Somdet had been the first abbot of this temple when it was built by the government. After the cremation, I went to spend the rains at Namai Cow, White Mother's Field, at what is now called Wat Asokaram. Where Wat Asokaram stands today was originally called White Mother's Field. The owners, Sumet and Kim Hong Kraikan, donated about 22 acres over a period of 2 years, 1954 and 55, for the purpose of building a monastery. We then set up quarters and had one of my followers, Phra Kru Baitika go to look after the place in my absence, along with 5 other monks. So when the monastery was first founded, we had 6 monks staying there. In 1956, after the Somdet's cremation, I went there to spend the rains. During this period, I began making plans for the festival celebrating 2005 centuries of Buddhism in 1957, 2500 BE. Actually, I had already been thinking about the matter for a long time, ever since the year I left the forest at Ban Pha Dan Sen Kandan in Chiang Mai. During the years that I was contemplating holding a festival to celebrate 25 centuries of Buddhism, I had gone off wandering to a number of places one night while staying at Phra Sabai Cave in Mae Tha district, Lampang. I went into a deep cave behind Phra Sabai Cave and lit a series of kerosene lanterns that I placed in a row in front of the Buddha image there. Directly in front of the image was a floor of wooden planks. As for myself, I went to sit on a large rock and face the wall of the cave. I kept the lanterns lit bright all night long. I made a vow. This will have to be a big festival, but I don't have any resources. Should I go ahead with it or not? May the Dhamma inspire the answer to appear in my heart, or may the Devas who watch over the nation, the religion, and the king, and the Deva who guards the Emerald Buddha, which lies at the heart of the nation's spirit, help show me the way. That night at about 2 a.m., while my mind was rested and at ease, there was an incident, a sudden clatter from in front of the Buddha image. It was the sound, not of falling rock, but of shattering glass. I waited for a moment and then got up to have a look. I walked around about 3 to 4 meters from where I had been sitting. The entire cave was lit, a small circular cave, no more than 8 to 9 meters wide, 10 to 15 meters tall, and with an opening leading to the open air overhead. After walking around inspecting the area and not seeing anything, I returned to my original spot and continued sitting in meditation. While sitting, I dozed off and dreamed. A Deva came to me and said, "You don't have to worry about the festival, but you will have to hold it. Whenever you do it, it will be a success." After that, I didn't give much thought to the matter. I stayed on there in seclusion for a fair while. Then, before I left, I mentioned to the monks there that I'd like to find 3 Bodhi trees to plant in front of the cave. Afterwards, I returned to Lopburi and stayed at Wat Khao Phra Nam, beautiful Buddha mountain monastery. I had arrived there in time for Magha Puja, and so led a group of lay people from Bangkok and Lopburi in a 3-day ceremony. I taught the Dhamma to a contingent of about 300 soldiers, led a candle procession around the great Buddha image, and then we all sat in meditation. I made a vow concerning the festival celebrating 25 centuries of Buddhism. I don't know why, but my mind seems to keep dwelling on the matter. I then vowed to donate my life on the day of the full moon, i.e. to go without food, and to donate my eyes, i.e. to go without sleep. But in spite of my efforts, nothing happened until it was about to grow light. At about 5 a.m., I dozed off for a moment and dreamed. The earth opened wide beneath me, revealing a scattered heap of broken red bricks deep underground. Something inside me said, "This is a spot where relics of the Buddha were once enshrined, but the shrine is now nothing but a rubble of bricks underground. Therefore, you will have to help build a chedi to enshrine relics of the Buddha after the festival celebrating 25 centuries of Buddhism. Otherwise, your old karma won't be done with." This was followed by another dream. Once, in the distant past, the Sangha was planning an important meeting in India, but after we had all agreed to the date, I hadn't joined in the meeting. The meeting concerned plans for a celebration of the Buddha's relics. It was to be a very important celebration, but I didn't join in. So my friends placed a penalty on me. In the future, you will have to gather relics of the Buddha and enshrine them in a chedi at one place or another, for the sake of Buddhists yet to come. With this dream in mind, my thoughts about going ahead with the festival celebrating 25 centuries of Buddhism grew more and more earnest. The next day, in the dim light before dawn, I made a vow. If my holding the festival celebrating 25 centuries of Buddhism will be a success, May the number of Buddha's relics I have with me reach a total of 80, equal to the years of the Lord Buddha's life. When I made the vow, I had just over 60 relics. When I finished my vow, it was dawn. After my meal, I took out my pouch and counted exactly 80. The following night, I climbed to sit in meditation at the base of the great Buddha image on the slope of the mountain. I stayed up all night, sitting in samadhi and doing walking meditation around the image. I set out a tray, along with flowers, candles, and incense, and made a vow. If the festival celebrating 25 centuries of Buddhism is to be a success, may more of the Buddha's relics come, from anywhere at all. At dawn, about 10 tiny relics had come, mixed together with red gemstones. Quickly I put them into a container. I didn't tell anyone, but thought to myself that the festival would probably be a success. That year, 1956, I returned to spend the rainy season at Wat Asokaram. After the rains were over, I received news that 3 Bodhi trees had sprouted in front of Phra cave in Lampang. At present, the trees are 4 meters tall and very striking, growing out of the jutting rock. Plans for the festival, celebrating 25 centuries of Buddhism, became more and more firm during the rainy season at Wat Asokaram in 1956. Up to that point, I hadn't decided where to hold the festival, because it was going to be a large affair. But after looking around, I decided we'll have to hold it right here at Wat Asokaram. There were going to be 2 celebrations. The one I would do in conjunction with other Buddhists and the one I would do on my own. The celebration held in conjunction with other Buddhists would succeed on one of 3 levels, i.e., low, moderate, or high. This was a thought I didn't mention to anyone else, simply an observation I kept to myself. When the festival was over, it turned out to have been only a moderate success. Had it been a high-level success, I would have built a ceremonial umbrella for the Buddha image at Khao Phrang Ngam. The celebration I would do all on my own. Celebrating on my own would be very good, but wouldn't be of any benefit to people at large. This sort of celebration could be done in one of 3 ways. A. The lowest level, escape from humanity and hide away in the forests and wilds for 3 years before returning to be involved with people again. B. The moderate level, go deep into the forest alone and meditate in earnest for 3 months with no worries or responsibilities. C. The highest level, tie a red cloth around my neck for 7 days. In other words, within 7 days, I would try to do good in one of 2 ways. 1. Attain all of the 8 cognitive skills, Vijja, to use as tools in my work of spreading the Buddha's teachings. 2. If I can't succeed at 1, may I go all the way on the 7th day, at the same time relinquishing my life with no hope of return. Only in this way would I have done with the karma I dreamed about having made with my friends in the past. By the end of 1956, the time for the festival was drawing near, but I had already made some advanced preparations, such as producing the Bodhi leaf Buddha amulets, copied from an image I had seen in Benares. When I was traveling through India, I had materials gathered from scores of places, earth from the Buddhist holy places in India, fragments of votive tablets once cached away in old sheddis, donated by friends and followers from various provinces, Lopburi, Phitsanulokhe, Fidjit, Sukhothai, Suphanburi, Ayutthaya, Phetchabun, Songkhla, Ubon Ratchathani, Thad Phanom district, and Bangkok. I had fragments of ancient Buddha images from Prajimbury and ancient lustral water made by wise men in the past. These I mixed into a paste along with powdered dried flowers and ashes of burnt paper on which Dhamma passages had been written. Using this paste, we cast 2 types of images by 1, pressing the paste into a mold and then allowing it to dry. 2, mixing the paste with clay, pressing it into a mold and baking it in a kiln. I thought to myself, we're going to have to produce at least 1 million images. When we were finished at the end of the rains in 1956, we counted to see how many we had. Altogether, there were more than 1,100,000. Late one night when it was quiet, a strange vision appeared to me. I was sitting pressing Buddha images from a mold when a relic of the Buddha came and displayed a sign over my bed. It was similar to the Bodhi leaf image I was making, but the image I was making represented the Buddha delivering the Dhammacakka sermon, i.e., with both hands raised. But in the vision, the Buddha had both hands in his lap. I had a new mold made patterned after the vision and named it the Bodhikaka. I still have this relic with me and haven't yet enshrined it. Later, another relic the shape of a Buddha image sitting in meditation came as well. This I also still have with me. Another time, when I had been sitting in meditation at Lopburi in the quiet just before dawn, another Buddha relic had appeared, and at around 5 a.m, a statuette of King Asoka, made of dark, pinkish grey-cut glass, came falling down in front of me, so I sketched a copy of it. This, too, I still have with me. After a number of strange events like this had occurred, I called together the monks who were my closest disciples and announced, "We're going to have to hold the festival celebrating 25 centuries of Buddhism right here in Wat Asokaram." I came to this final decision right then, during the middle of the rains, 1956. Once I had made my decision, I checked to see how much money was in my account. There turned out to be a little more than 200 baht. Nevertheless, I made orders to begin construction, putting up temporary shelters, making ceremonial umbrellas, etc. As soon as we set to work, contributions started coming in. When we had finished 2 shelters, our money ran out. At the time, I had gone to Chanthaburi. When I returned to Wat Asokaram, Police Colonel Luang Wiraded Kamang came to inform me, "We're almost all out of money, Thampao. Where are we going to get more?" I laid out the following plans for the festival. Purposes of the festival. A1. To make 912,500 Buddha images, equal to the number of days in 2,500 years, and then raise the number to 1 million, each one inch tall and made of either stucco or baked clay, to be distributed free of charge to all people who come and join in the festival. Whatever images are left over will be buried in the foundations of the chedi to be built. 2. To make 5 large images representing the Buddha at the moment of his awakening, delivering the first sermon, the Dhammacakka, delivering the final sermon before totally entering Nibbana, and sitting in meditation. This last is to be the major image in the ordination hall. 3. To make small images, 500 each of silver, gold, and gold bronze, each weighing about 4 grams, to be placed in the chedi as a gift to our descendants. B. To finance a complete set of the Buddhist canon, suttas, Vinaya, and Abhidhamma, translated into Thai. C. To ordain 80 monks, 80 novices, 80 upasakas, laymen wearing white and observing the 8 precepts, and 80 nuns, laywomen wearing white and observing the 8 precepts. If larger numbers of people are ordained, so much the better. Each person is to be ordained for at least 7 days. Ordination ceremonies will be held from May 12th to May 20th, 1957. Whoever desires to be ordained should give the following information to the ordination committee: name, address, age, date of birth, and whether or not you will be able to supply your own requisites. The committee will arrange to find requisites for all those unable to supply their own. Whoever would like to sponsor an ordination of any kind is welcome to inform the committee. The cost of requisites is as follows: for upasakas and nuns, 100 baht; for novices, 150 baht; for monks, 300 baht. Those wishing to be ordained may apply at the Wat from now until April 15th, 1957. D. When the festival is over, there will be one further aim: to build a chedi as a memento of our having participated in this important anniversary, and to enshrine relics of the Buddha, Buddha images, copies of the scriptures, and other objects related to Buddhism. This chedi will be a cluster of 13 spires built on 3 levels, 4 spires to each level, with a central spire on the uppermost level. The central spire will be the largest, 6 meters square and 26 meters tall. The surrounding spires will be smaller. The laying of the foundations for the chedi will begin before the festival. The location will be at Wat Asokaram, Samut Prakan, which is planned to be a center for instruction in the practice of meditation for monks, novices, laymen, and laywomen in the years to come. Second, merit-making ceremonies to be held during the festival. 8 monks will chant image consecration chants, 8 monks a day for 7 days. Monks will sit in samadhi, presiding over the consecration of sacred objects. 8 monks a day for 7 days. C. 5 sermons relating the history of the Buddhist councils will be delivered, 1 sermon per day. The passages in response to each sermon will be chanted by 40 monks, This will be to dedicate merit to relatives and ancestors who have passed away. D. Food will be donated to the 500 monks and novices invited to participate in the first 7 days of the festival. Afterwards, food will continue to be donated to monks and novices until the 2 weeks of the festival are over. The second week, approximately 300 monks and novices will be fed each day. E. During the first 7 days, there will be a candlelight procession in celebration each night. F. On Visakha Puja, May 13th, 1957, a ceremony will be held to enshrine objects in the foundations of the Chedi. G. Mahayana services will also be held, i.e., 3 days of Kongtek, merit-making services for the dead, and sermons in line with Mahayanist beliefs. There will also be other merit-making ceremonies in addition to those listed here. In addition, temporary shelters for monks and novices, as well as shelters for laymen and laywomen, will be built, along with a kitchen to be used for the duration of the festival. After I had written down the above program, we set to work implementing the plans step by step. I showed the plans to a number of my followers. They would all shake their heads and say, "Then where are you going to get the money for a big affair like this?" But I would think to myself, we're going to do good. Good-hearted people are sure to come and help. We won't have to go canvassing for funds. When I had returned from Chanthaburi, and the date for the festival was approaching, a stream of people started coming to help contribute money. Altogether, we received almost 100,000 baht. One person, Dr. Yut Sainguthai, was afraid that we wouldn't be able to carry out our plans, and so went on his own to ask for help from the government. He got to talk with the Minister of Cultural Affairs, General Luang Sawat, who at the time wasn't acquainted with me, but who was kind enough to say, "If you need money, I'll make the arrangements." Kun Ying Wad Le Kawanit Damawithak came to tell me about this. My response: we don't need the money. Construction work continued, and contributions kept coming in without our ever issuing any requests for funds. All we did was print up flyers to let my followers know of the plans and schedule for the festival. Preparations within the monastery were virtually complete. Suni Changkamanon, Saun Achakun, Thaungsuk, and Mai Kim Hong Krai Khan took responsibility for building the salain, which the festival was to be held. Seeing that it wouldn't be large enough, we added thatched roofs on all 4 sides, which Colonel Luang Wiradid, together with the monks and novices, helped build. In addition, we built a temporary kitchen and a large number of temporary shelters. The kitchen was a little over 30 meters long, 6 meters wide, and roofed with thatch. There were 5 shelters for monks and novices, 5 each for laymen and laywomen, each shelter 80 meters long and 10 meters wide with thatched roofs and walls. Construction of the shelters cost more than 100,000 baht. The festival sala, 165,000 baht. Repair of the roads around the monastery, financed by Kun Ying Wad, 60,000 baht total construction costs. Thus came to more than 300,000 baht. And there were a great many other things we had to purchase for the festival as well. Our money kept running out, but at the same time, contributions kept coming in. By April, preparations were in full swing. A large number of monks, novices, and lay people began gathering from the outlying provinces. The numbers of people applying for ordination, both men and women, kept swelling until they were well over the goals we had originally set. On May 11, 1957, we began the ordination ceremonies. To ordain the monks, we invited a number of preceptors: Somdet Mahawirawong, Juan, Wat Makut Kasatriaram, Phra Fromuni, Wat Bovonives, Phra Sasanasofon, Wat Rajadivasa, Phra Damatilok, Wat Boromnivasa, Phra Damapitok, Wat Phra Sri Mahadatu, and Phra Nyanarakit, Wat Boromnivasa. In addition, we had preceptors who were old friends or disciples of mine. The ordination ceremonies turned out to be a large-scale affair, so I turned the whole program over to Ajahn Deng, who trained the new monks-to-be throughout the festival and who also acted as preceptor. In addition, Phra Kru Wiriang from Chanthaburi and Ajahn Sila of Sakon Nakorn helped act as preceptors, preparing the monks-to-be and arranging their requisites until the end of the festival. All in all, so many people came to help financially with the ordination ceremonies that we didn't have to spend any of the monastery funds set aside for the purpose, to the point where we ran out of monks-to-be for them to sponsor. We had to announce over the loudspeaker that we could no longer accept contributions from those volunteering to sponsor ordinations. Sponsors for the ordination ceremonies contributed altogether 138,000 baht. The ordinations lasted from the 11th to the 29th of May, and the number of people ordained in each category was as follows: 637 monks, 144 novices, 1,240 nuns, 340 brahmanis, women wearing white, observing the 8 precepts, but not shaving their heads, 340 upasakas, men wearing white, shaving their heads and observing the 8 precepts, and 12 brahmans, men wearing white, observing the 8 precepts, but not shaving their heads. Altogether, 2,407 were ordained. The daily schedule throughout the festival ran as follows. Morning. After the meal, 1 chanting in homage to the relics of the Buddha, 2 chanting of blessings, 3 sitting in meditation. Afternoon. 1 chanting in homage to the Buddha's relics, 2 chanting in celebration, 3 sitting in meditation or a sermon. 4 o'clock, rest. 5 o'clock, gathering at the sala, chanting in homage to the Buddha's relics, candlelight procession, consecration chants, chanting in celebration, sitting in meditation until midnight. This schedule is to be followed until the end of the festival. During the course of the festival, the thought occurred to me that we should donate a Phra Pa to the Temple of the Emerald Buddha to compensate for one of my plans that had fallen through. In the beginning, I had thought of setting up a central fund for the Thai Sangha, and so had prepared a proposal that I submitted to Somdet Phra Mahawirawong, Juan, of Wat Makut. The gist of the proposal was that we would request every titled monk in Thailand to voluntarily relinquish his monthly stipend for 1 month to form a central fund for the Thai Sangha. As a memento of our having celebrated 25 centuries of Buddhism, I myself would gather additional contributions to add to the fund. I asked the Somdet to take this matter to the Executive Council of the Sangha to see whether or not they would approve it. I was really pleased by the Somdet's immediate response. "I'll gladly donate my entire monthly stipend. If there's anything else you need for the festival, I'll be glad to help." That's the spirit, I thought to myself. The Somdet ultimately gave his approval to the proposal and so presented it to the Executive Council. Later, though, I learned that this and that member of the council had raised objections, and so it fell through. In that case, I decided, we'd do better to donate a Phra Pa to the Emerald Buddha. I contacted HH Princess Pradisatha, asking her to act as sponsor for 16 Phra Pas, one of which would go to the Emerald Buddha. She said she would be glad to help. She gave us every form of assistance, having not only members of her household but also other nobility, including members of the Privy Council, help give a full-scale welcome to the Piche Pas. So we gathered together more than 30,000 baht in funds, from which we gave a little over 300 baht to each of the 15 Phra Pas. The remainder, 24,122.30 baht, we donated to the Emerald Buddha to set up an endowment fund entitled the 2500 Anniversary Fund, donated by followers of Ajahn Lee, Wat Asokaram. The interest from the fund was to help with the upkeep of the Temple of the Emerald Buddha. Afterwards, we gathered additional contributions that we added to the fund, bringing the total endowment to more than 50,000 baht. On May 20th, we began the festive procession, carrying Buddha images, relics of the Buddha, and the 16 Phra Pas from Wat Asokaram to the Temple of the Emerald Buddha, H.H. Princess Pradisatha had given orders for officials from the royal household to welcome us. After the procession circumambulated the ordination hall 3 times, the princess and members of the Privy Council arrived to accept the Phra Pas. She had given orders for the royal kitchens to prepare food to be presented to the 15 senior monks invited to receive the Phra Pas. Most of the monks were from temples that had in the past been under the sponsorship of Rama IV. After presenting the monks with their midday meal, the princess presented them with the 15 Phra Pas. With the ceremonies over, we led the procession from the Temple of the Emerald Buddha to Wat Phra Sri Mahadatu in Bangken district in order to receive saplings from the great Bodhi tree in India, which we had requested and been granted by the government. Arriving at Wat Phra Sri Mahadatu, we conducted the ceremonies for receiving the 2 saplings and carried them in a procession 3 times around the ordination hall. Then we led the procession to the Buddharaksa Gardens in Bang Bua Thong, Gold Lotus Town, Nonthaburi, where we held a one-night celebration in honor of the relics of the Buddha and the Bodhi trees. The following morning, May 21st, after our meal, we took the Buddha images, relics of the Buddha, and Bodhi trees in a boat procession from Gold Lotus Town down along the Chao Phraya River to the landing at the provincial offices in Samut Prakan. There, we were given a rousing welcome by a contingent from Wat Asokaram, along with the provincial governor, civil servants, and other Buddhists. Our procession then went from the provincial offices back to Wat Asokaram, arriving in the afternoon to a welcoming contingent headed by Chaukuna Monmuni, ecclesiastical head of Chanthaburi province. We circumambulated the sala 3 times and then entered the area where the image consecration services were being held. After paying homage to the Buddha images, relics of the Buddha, Bodhi trees and Chedis, we stopped for a short rest. At 6 p.m., we rang the bell and met in the sala for chants in celebration, consecration chants, and a candlelight procession. Huge numbers of people came to join in the celebration. The following morning, May 22nd, we held ceremonies for planting 4 Bodhi trees at Wat Asokaram, the 2 we had received from Wat Phra Sri Mahadatu, plus 2 from India. Since then, my followers have returned from India with 2 more Bodhi trees that they donated to the Wat. At the moment, there are altogether 6 descendants of the great Bodhi tree growing in Wat Asokaram. The festival continued. One day, funds started running out, and so the festival committee met for consultation. Nankimri and Kingthin and Hunnai Tunkusalyawit prepared a letter asking for help from the government. They brought the letter and read it aloud to me. The gist of it was that they were going to ask the Prime Minister, Field Marshal Paul Phibunsongkhram, to help donate 50,000 baht. Before they had even finished reading the letter, I told them to throw it into the fire right then and there. If there isn't enough to eat in this festival, I told them, I'm willing to starve. As it turned out, the money kept coming in and our funds never ran out. People came to provide food for the monks at the festival, sometimes 3 days at a time, sometimes 7. Some brought Thai food, others Chinese food. The image consecration ceremonies lasted for 15 days, with Major General Phong Punakan, Chief of the Army Transportation Bureau, acting as sponsor. Throughout the festival, Kun Ying Wad Lekawanit Dhamawithak arranged transportation and gifts for the 10 Chinese monks who came to chant 3 days, and provided food for 355 monks 7 days running. There were 2 Mahayana sermons and Kongtek services for 3 nights. There was also a Loi Krathong ceremony and a raffle. Kun Nai Thawang Suk Chumpai Rod provided food for 300 monks for 7 days. In addition, a number of Chinese people came and helped provide vegetarian food for several days. People came to sponsor, altogether, 11 reenactments of the Buddhist councils and made donations totaling 5,000 baht at each reenactment. On top of all this, people came to donate cups, plates and saucers, rice, firewood, charcoal, everything to the festival kitchen. For the most part, the kitchen didn't have to buy much. Most things were provided by donors. As a result, the kitchen spent no more than 5,000 baht for food each day. My followers all helped to the full extent of their abilities. In the area of medical care, we received help from General Thanam Upathamphanon, Chief Army Medical Officer, and his wife, Kun Ying Sujai, who sent doctors and orderlies throughout the festival to provide medical treatment for those who needed it. And as for security, Police Colonel Sutsanangwan Tansathit, head of the Police Public Safety Department, sent traffic police and a fire truck to help throughout the festival. Time passed and everything went well. Money became less and less of a problem. The daily schedule proceeded according to plan. The ordination ceremonies continued every day, and the weather cooperated throughout. There were no untoward incidents, aside from a few minor occurrences not worth mentioning. On May 13th, Visakha Puja, a number of sponsors had 4 Buddha images cast, each image 80 centimeters across at the base. Kun Ying Wad sponsored 2 images, Phraya Lekhawanit Dhamawithak, 1, and Colonel Luang Wiraded Kamhaeng and his wife, Kun Nai Noi, 1, at a cost of 6,790 baht per image. Nai Kwanghang Sayahia, along with his wife and children, donated a 5th image that they had had cast on Magha Puja at a cost of 34,000 baht, including the celebration costs. The Wat didn't have to spend any money for the casting of these images. The sponsors covered all costs, which for the 5 images totaled 61,160 baht. As for the entertainment offered during the festival, hardly anyone paid any attention to it because most of the people had come to participate in the religious activities. A group of my Chinese followers brought a Chinese opera company to perform 3 nights. Wari Chayakun from Hard Yai brought a menorah dance drama company and a shadow puppet company to perform throughout the festival. 2 movie screens were set up, and a Moor Lamb singing group from the northeast came to perform one night and then had to close down from lack of interest. None of these activities cost us anything because groups of my followers had sponsored them on their own initiative. We continued to celebrate in this way, with chanting, candlelight processions, meditation sessions, and sermons. We invited a number of high-ranking ecclesiastical officials, such as Somdet Mahawirawong of Wat Makut and Phra Sasanasaphon, to deliver 1 sermon apiece. In addition, we had sermons of our own, some of which I delivered, and some by Ajahn T. These activities continued until May 29, 1957. At the end of the festival, our accounts read as follows: total income 840,340.49 baht. Total expenditures 533,326.75 baht. Assets remaining 307,013.74 baht. All of this was money that people had donated on their own initiative. In addition, we also received non-liquid assets, such as ordination sponsors who arranged requisites on their own, which were handled by the finance committee, the reenactments of the Buddhist councils, food donated to the monks, gifts for the monks who chanted, the casting of the Buddha images, the construction of the sala, the repair of the road leading to the Wat, the Mahayana services. All of these came in the form of non-liquid assets that altogether we estimated roughly at more than 300,000 baht. All in all, the monks and laypeople who joined in the festival came from 45 provinces. Thus, the festival celebrating 25 centuries of Buddhism in the year BE 2500 came to a close. Afterwards, right before the rains, another sponsor, Nai Thanabun Kimanun, along with his wife and children, had another Buddha image cast and donated to the Wat to celebrate the year BE 2500 at a cost of 75,000 baht. The image was more than 2 meters across at the base. They also built a dais for it and conducted celebration ceremonies that, added to the cost of the image, totaled more than 150,000 baht. A number of the monks, novices, and nuns ordained during the festival stayed on for the rains, continuing to practice the Dhamma together. At the end of the rains, many of them returned home, although a number of them are still currently ordained. As for myself, when the rains were over, I went to visit many of the places where there were friends and followers who had come to participate in the festival. Later, I went to Lampang in hopes of building a chedi at Phra Sabai Cave. This was when I first saw the 3 Bodhi trees that had sprung up there, and it made me very glad they are tall trees now. Chow Mei Suk of the Lampang Royal House, along with Kun Nai Kimrian Kingthian, Mei Leng Tau Janwirwad, and a contingent of laymen and laywomen joined together with a group of my followers, both laypeople and monks, to complete the chedi. We then enshrined relics of the Buddha there in the cave and brought an Indian Bodhi tree to plant at the cave's entrance. From there, I went on to Chiang Mai, Uttaradit, Phitsanulok, Nakhon Sawan, and Lopburi,